This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter. Yeah, I want. Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, it's showtime. Wednesday. Coming at you. And I'm excited. As always. Number one, I'm glad I woke up. That's getting to be a privilege nowadays. But number two, if you knew, well, you do know, I think you know, who I've got on the show tonight, you'd be excited too. And you're going to find out, but happy Wednesday. How the hell is everybody? My name is Peter G. You're watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, right here every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, God willing. It's a good day. Beautiful day out. Spring in California. This is why you pay through the nose for living out here, but I still question it. But I digress. Tonight, it's going to be a series of nights coming up this month, but tonight, kicking it off right here on this show, I'm going to have one of LA's top guitarists, I think in general, but he lives here. And it's funny because as I'm telling you about who's going to be on this show tonight, this is going to go for the future guests that I'm going to have on for the remainder of the month too, because I'm bringing in people that I've known for ages. We both know that we're around through social medias and things like that, but I have not talked to them in years. I mean, physically talk to them. To like, hey, how you doing? Not the business chat, just like, how's it going? How's life? And I have not. So on top of bringing in some of LA's A-list musicians that are going to be on this show, we're going to catch up right here live on this show, just like as if we were hanging out and just going, man, it's been so long. What have you been doing? And vice versa. And that's what's going to happen. So tonight, kicking it off, as I promised, Tim Pierce, guitarist Tim Pierce, right here on this show. You don't know who Tim Pierce is? You're gonna. I mean, you've probably heard him on 1 million songs, over 1,000 records. But he's one of those guys that, like, you know, he's not on the t-shirt. Well, actually, nowadays, he just might be. He's got his own t-shirts. But he's played on everybody's records. And this is the amazing thing. Things you learn about when, you know, I moved to LA in the early 90s. And I wasn't as aware of, like, how important it was to know who was doing what. But he's going to be on this show, and we're going to talk to him. I'm going to catch up. And it's going to be interesting for me as well as for you. But speaking of interesting, all right, I want you to mark this on your calendars. Where are we? May 17th, next week, next Wednesday. Take off from work. Cancel your plans, cancel your doctor's appointments, whatever the heck you got to do. Forget about going to dinner, order in. Just be ready next week, because next week I'm going to do this again, but with somebody absolutely different, but way up here. Next week, keyboardist, songwriter, composer, Steve Piccaro. That's right, you heard right. Steve Piccaro is going to be on this show. Another one of those, haven't seen you in ages, how you been? So you're not going to want to miss that. Mark it on your calendars. Wednesday, May 17th, keyboardist, composer, songwriter, top of the heap, Steve Picaro. So anyway, you're not going to want to miss it. As always, I have to ask you to please go to YouTube and subscribe. It's free. Ever since they wiped out my channel, building it back up again now it's been hell. Hell. I know you're watching from Facebooks and LinkedIn's and all these other platforms that we're live on, but please, please, please just do me the favor. If you think, you take 30 seconds, just go over there and just hit it. I cannot believe how hard they're making it for me. They've throttled me down. All because we got kind of technical and talking about things in life, health. We got into politics, Sometimes I get the right guests on and we said things that they didn't like and they just took me right off the air. Boom. But I'm back. But I had to reload everything, rebuild. So please go over there and just hit subscribe because it sucks being stomped on. But it's their platform. And should I choose to stay on it, I had to fight the good fight. Again, now I've learned when I'm going to talk about anything that might go against censorship or this and that and having guests on that, want to speak their mind to let you, the people, decide, I'll just turn that channel off. But I had to learn the hard way. So please, please, please. But those of you that are on the Facebooks and the LinkedIns and the Twitters and the, again, just please go over there and just hit it, please. Thank you. And again, I love you for watching the Peter G Show, but a lot of times people are busy. You're out exercising. I know when I'm out doing my 4 or 5 mile walks, I take the Peter G Show and put an earbud in my ear and listen to Peter G Show podcast, audio only. Next best thing to being here. Just Google Peter G Show podcast, and we're on like 25 different platforms. Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. So just take it with it. It's the next best thing to being there when you're at work, man. I know so many people that love listening to podcasts while they're working because work is boring. Get it. Just do that. It'll make you happy. 300 shows to choose from and counting. All different topics. There's something out there. I promise you there's something out there to float your boat and in multiples. Because I may have a guest on that's talking basically about the same thing, but he's talking about something, it's the same thing, only different. Their perspective. I let people share stories. That's what we do here. We share stories. But some stories, some of these platforms don't want you to share. So it's like they just said, we'll just turn you off. But I'm not scared. Anyway, that's that. All right. Coming up in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Count it. Tim Pierce. Guitarist Tim Pierce. But first, we need to have a word from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their DX1 driver fuel additive. So I'll be right back.
Let us help you with the high price of fuel. Hello, I'm Ty Thompson at CleanStarProducts.com. We can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Here's how. Our program works the same with gasoline and diesel engines. Whether you're using a car pack or SUV pack, the instructions are the same. Add 1 bottle to your engine oil, and each time you change your oil, add 1 bottle to the fuel tank each and every fuel fill-up. It's that easy. You get 10% fuel economy on average, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. DX1 sells for $2 an ounce, so for just a few dollars a fuel tank, you can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Come on, give it a try. It's the finest green grade oil in the world from a California environmental company. You're gonna feel it when you drive. Order online today, we'll get it out right away. CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right, Clean Star Products. Let's face it, people, gas is expensive. Cars are even more expensive. So take care of your cars, get better fuel economy. I mean, they actually have something that works. And if it can pass California emissions, it can pass anything. So this little bitty bottle, you just take it, you add it to a clean oil change, and then every time you fill up your tank with fuel, you put it into a fill up, and boom, you're absolutely taking care of your engine. Better lubricity, more horsepower, cleaner emissions. You're saving up to 10% in fuel. It's a no-brainer. If you want to talk to these people over at Clean Star Products, just write to them, www.cleanstarproducts.com. They will talk to you. They're really cool people. They care. Tell them the Peter G Show sent you. That'll do it. It works. And it pays to save money, right? It does. Well, actually, it doesn't pay to save money, but you save money because you're saving money. You know what I mean? All right. As promised, next First, you know what? Take a drink. Woo. Smooth. All right, as promised. And believe me, I'm anxious. This is kind of, I'm killing two birds with one stone. I really need to talk to this guy, but I want to talk to this guy, and so I'm getting to share him with you, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, my longtime old friend, and here on this show, Tim Pierce. Look at you.
Hey, Peter.
How you doing, man?
I'm excellent. Great to be talking to you. Loved your intro. Very high energy. You're naturally funny.
I'm actually what?
Naturally funny.
Oh, naturally. Well, you know what? It's weird because throughout my entire musicianship, lots of people said, "Dude, you missed your calling." You know. So, hindsight, here we are. Fast forward. I never thought I'd be sitting in this chair doing this, but we'll get to that. But it's well documented now. But the thing is, I get to put some of that into it now. Now it's not just being funny when I bump into you, or not being funny. I don't mean to be funny. It's just shit's just I'm just funny.
It's natural. So you got 300 podcasts. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, there's almost 300 shows now. Yeah, we just celebrated our 200th live show. About what show number is this? This is 207. So, but I have almost 300 shows. We used to, back in the day, like when I recorded Luke several years ago, it was location, multi-camera, record, bring it in, edit, and then upload it and put it out on a certain date. It got really expensive really fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, I love it that way. I really do. But we just decided to say, let's just go live. And then before COVID hit, I was already doing this style, this Zoom-esque style. So I was already in the game before the game even.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. The national shows went and brought all their shows to their houses, and they were naked, with millions of dollars behind them. They could not talk to a dead camera. Well, I'm used to talking to myself. So it's like,
Awesome.
So anyway, all right. So here's the deal. I want to tell my people, we're going to catch up a little bit, your background and things like that. But I got to tell you, you have been on the Christmas card list exchange for, I want to say, more than 20 years.
More than 20. It's probably closer to 30. And I thank you for sending them every year. And I thank my wife for sending them to you. It's always so fun to get the Peter G. Christmas card. And there's some pretty entertaining ones, some pretty wild ones. So
they used to be. I mean,
yeah.
And then I had my daughter.
Yeah, right.
And right. my life just kind of changed. It's like this door opened up that
it's a style change. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I used to have some pretty edgy Christmas cards, and let me tell you something. I used to get somebody emailed me from Paramount Studios once, and they said, "Who are you? Your Christmas card is taped on the side of the SSL or something on one of the consoles." And this was like, people come and go, employees change. I used to be friends with the engineers or this and that, but yet the cards just live on. They're all over the place. But I had to stop that.
No doubt. Yeah, they're wonderful. Yeah. Even now that they're more appropriate and mature, they're still wonderful.
The cards are mature. I haven't changed, unfortunately. I'm still, but I mean, it was nothing bad. It was just, to me, it was the one time a year, just like this. Like we have not talked, but we know we're around each other. We know that you're there and I'm here. But it was the one time a year I said, it's just saying, "Hey, Merry Christmas." And I'm still around. Hope you're well. And just to get your attention. If I put a smirk on your face, job done. No. Anyway, but you, sir, I have not talked to, and I want to talk to you because, you started out way before me. I moved here in the early 90s. You came into LA around what year?
So it was 1979, and it was an amazing time to come here because it was a giant campus of music everywhere. Big buildings, professional publishers, writers, record companies, musicians everywhere, showcases, demos. concerts, nightclubs, live music everywhere, musicians everywhere. And it was a lucky time to get here. The other thing that was really lucky is it was pretty affordable. You could rent a place to live pretty inexpensively. So I moved here at the end of 1979, and there were two big trends. One was New Wave, which was represented by a band called The Knack. They had just had a #1 with My Sharona, and the other big trend was Van Halen and that kind of hard rock. So it was an amazing guitar bonanza in different genres. And I started working right away. And so I moved here right before I turned 21 and started doing some records pretty quickly. And then at age 23, I did a John Waite record, a John Bon Jovi record, a Rick Springfield record, and a couple other records. And I ended up joining Rick Springfield's band and touring with him throughout the 80s. We did 4 world tours and 5 records. So it was a great time for me. The 80s. I moved here at the end of 1979. LA was really incredible. I still like it here, but it's not the music campus that it was. It was a giant music festival every day.
Oh, we're going to get to where it's not what it was. But here's the thing. You moved here to LA like 9 million other people, okay? It didn't have to go. How did you just, I mean, I think back when you came in, you're right. It was even more flourishing. If you were talented, you had a better shot of being somebody or doing something of worth. But still, there's a lot of people that move to LA with big dreams, and it just doesn't work out. Who did you know people, or happen to have somebody, or you just had to be somewhere that led you from one thing to another because there's a million musicians.
That's an easy answer. There are a lot of people who moved here. Maybe they got a record deal and they were sitting trying to make their record or rehearsing, and they weren't really allowed to do a lot of different things. The benefit for me is I just wanted to be a working musician. So I took every gig I could possibly find. You probably remember The Recycler. There were gigs in The Recycler, which was a newspaper that would come out every Thursday. That you could buy gear, you could rent a place. It was a local buy and sell newspaper. Well, there were gigs in The Recycler. The thing is, because I just wanted to be a working musician, I didn't really have any kind of a bubble I lived in. So I started doing gigs. I would do a rehearsal for $30 and a gig for $50. And I started doing demo recordings. I forgot what those paid. Whatever they would pay, I would accept. I knew one person, basically. I knew a roadie who worked for kind of a mid-level band, and he introduced me to a guitar player who was leaving a gig. In order for Steve Sykes to leave his gig, his name was Steve Sykes, he's still a dear friend. In order for him to leave that gig gracefully, he had to replace himself with somebody good. So he kind of taught me the parts, he got me the sounds, we put together a rig, and I joined this band called Shandy that was about to do a record with Mike Chapman, who was a big producer back then. And so what happened really, it's like a tree, and you know this. You meet one musician, you do well on the gig, then you've met 4 musicians, those 4 musicians recommend you for other things, then you've got 16 musicians recommending you, then that 16 multiplies. It's like a tree. Every tree sprouts a new branch, and you have new stuff. Now, I wasn't the greatest guitar player, but I was really hardworking, and I learned quick. My rhythm chops were not great, but I learned on the job real quick that I had to be a better rhythm guitar player. I was obsessed with lead guitar, and I learned really, really quickly that most of the job was about rhythm guitar. So I was basically a side man, so I could jump from any gig to any other gig, and I think that kept me, in an odd way, that kept me more secure. Now, the last thing I'll say on this subject is that, so there was a ladder in place for musicians. You could walk up the ladder professionally. You could enter at any rung of the ladder. Then it was up to you to advance to the next rung of the ladder. And a lot of musicians weren't really interested in advancing to the next rung, or didn't really want to be versatile or try different things. I think that's probably why I just wanted to work. I persevered. I was tenacious, and I tried to be as versatile as possible. I tried to fake the fact that I was versatile, and when you fake it, and then you can kind of be versatile if you do it long enough. So I just kept in the game and kept pushing.
I get you. I find that to me, I always thought the ultimate key, besides the musician, was the producers. If they like you and they move on to different projects, they'll call you in to do other things. I mean, I love
that would be true.
And all these guys and some guys were very open to bringing in new talent or this and that. Mm-hmm. Some guys, they had their guys and that was it, and they wouldn't give you, let you in for nothing because they were loyal. But let me ask you something, because I look, your discography. I mean, you've played on over 1,000 records. or more. Correct me if I'm wrong. It could be several thousand records.
Well, that's it. That's the number. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I saw that it's like it's Bon Jovi. It's like wasn't Richie Sambora and Bon Jovi from the beginning?
I'll tell the story really quickly. When I worked with John Bon Jovi, I was at the Power Station doing John Waite's record with Neil Giraldo, and John was living. He was a kid. He was 19. He was living. Might have been 17. Anyway, he was living upstairs at the Power Station. Everybody kind of knows this reality. He came downstairs and he liked what he heard. He came into the sessions. He was basically, sweeping the floors at the studio, and he was doing master demos. His uncle Tony Bon Jovi was paying for it. We did 8 songs, me and Roy Bittan from the E Street Band and some other great players. And one of those songs was impossible to beat. So he put it on his first record, and we were all credited. We're called the All-Stars. We're on the back of the LP. It was that long ago. It's called Runaway. So the song Runaway was finished as a master demo before he put his band together. And John even came out here with David Bryant, the keyboard player, and was looking for musicians to put together Bon Jovi. I'd already joined Rick Springfield, so I wasn't, and I didn't really have the image anyway. But he went back to New Jersey and found Richie. Now, Richie's the perfect mate for him because of his voice and his guitar playing and just his image, and that's why it worked out so well. And the writing. I mean, with Desmond Child, they wrote the most amazing songs. So it was a master demo that ended up being unbeatable. They couldn't beat it, so it ended up on the record, and it was his first single.
See, I did not know that. And again, back then when that record came out, I was in a regional, touring with a regional group on the Atlantic coast and just listening to the songs. And I thought Bon Jovi was already Bon Jovi. So this was, I've never asked you these things because I know, when I see you in transit or whatever, it's always, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 all right, see you later. And but I started digging in a little bit. We're going to get down. I just want to establish a little bit of the music stuff of your history because you have history and it's well worthy of. I mean, to me, it's fascinating because, again, you came in during the perfect storm and managed to do like the coolest of the cool stuff with everybody. I mean, the list is friggin' incredible of who you've done work for, from Springsteen to Michael Jackson, Christina Aguilera. I mean, it's endless. So, nothing to shake a stick at. But yet I know you, and it's like, you're not Mr. Crazy. You're not Mr. Rowdy. You're pretty even keel and, just a talented son of a gun that managed to get in. And I guess people like that because they can work with you,
Well, yeah. And what people don't see, any job in Hollywood is super demanding. I mean, a lot of the great people we know who work on movies or television or music, they work a double shift and you have to be, the main thing you have to be is reliable. Now, reliable means that you can play a Van Halen riff and you can play a U2 riff and you can play a Brian Setzer riff and you can play a, Barney Kessel riff, whatever. So reliable means you can show up and get the job done with the sounds and parts and you get in and you get out quickly. That's why they hire you. So it often is the personality that is not wild that ends up doing the work because it's really demanding. The hours are long and you have to keep you can't ever, you have to be on all the time. So a lot of times it is the person who just lives a quiet life and works really hard. Maybe I've been that guy. I don't know.
Well, you're versatile. You're versatile. And in your growing up, did you play in a lot of cover bands as a kid?
Well, some, yeah. In Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I grew up, there were nightclubs and bars, and the answer is yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay. I mean, because I attribute that because I was, I wasn't like I want to only play rock and roll. I attribute all the cover stuff I did from female Miami Sound Machines to Steely Dan's,
right.
to Rush. And I just felt like, I could sit down and play because I was working. And when I first got there, besides, Cartage and in between, I was working out of the Music Connection magazine, getting hired for songwriters. That's how, it was going. And I'd take whatever the hell they threw at me. I mean, other than fusion and speed metal, I was in,
Yeah. Same here. I could do most styles of music, most of the ones that were popular. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got that all. I mean, I was just shocked. But let's, and I just want to touch on this a little bit more. Your early days, you managed to get in with Rick Springfield when Rick Springfield was bigger than life. I mean, he was stadium size arenas. Yeah. Were you in the movie Was it called Hard to Hold or?
No. But the thing is, Rick I was working at a studio where Rick was recording. It's called Goodnight LA, and Rick's producer,
Yeah.
Olson, was finishing Rick's second record, and Jesse's Girl was a #1 song. At the moment, Jesse's Girl was a #1 song. Rick was also a big star in General Hospital, so he was kind of the biggest star in America at that moment, and that lasted about a year or two. Because he was on television in this hit TV show and he had a #1 single. At that moment, he decided to replace his band. I had just met him and worked on his record. And so I auditioned for his band and I knew what to do. The thing is, Rick is basically enamored with The Who. And I mean, so his stage, even to this day, is basically like, Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, and Roger Daltrey. So I went in with a pair of 100-watt Marshalls. I played full volume. And I think the fact that I wasn't a pretty boy and I played loud, aggressive rock, those are a couple of the reasons that I got it. But we just clicked, actually. He's a really nice guy. And I was the right guitar player. And they hired a new keyboard player and a new bass player. And that was the new band. So and then he kept Jack White on drums. And so we got to actually start doing big gigs right at his peak. It was awesome. And that's how it happened.
No, you were in, and because I remember when that movie came out, I actually saw it in the theater. But back then, again, I wasn't focusing on LA. We're talking 1980, 84?
Well, the movie came a little later, and they hired one musician that had worked with us, Mike Baird, who I love, on drums. Yeah. And I forget the guitar player. I know the guitar player. Was it Hunt Sales who played guitar? I don't know who did. Anyway, the on purpose, we were not in the movie because he wanted to have a different, personality. So,
okay.
Yeah. But I actually played on the soundtrack. I even wrote a song on the soundtrack. I played on all the music.
I just remember, again, I wasn't into knowing names. I didn't realize until I moved to LA how important it was to know who played on the record, who's producing them, all this kind of stuff. I just knew whether I liked it or not. And I remember seeing Mike Beard in that movie, but that's all I remember as the band. So that's why I'm asking you now. I'm thinking, well, if you were around then, I guess he had, his whole band in there just to make the appearance. Apparently
just Mike.
not.
Yeah, just Mike. Yeah.
That's strange. Yeah, Mike, he's an incredible drummer. That was just so okay. So and those were in the early 80s, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just show everybody back in the day. I just happen to have, we pulled a picture of, what year is this? This is you and Rick, 1983, right there.
That's the very beginning. That was like the first tour that we did together. Yeah.
Two young lads just going at it. I mean, on top of the world, right?
That was really fun. So fun. He was a great guy to hang with on the road. Really, he had more camaraderie than there are people on those tours that say they were the funnest tours they had ever done. Basically,
good times. I mean, again, he's still out there tearing it up. He likes going out and playing live.
He's still doing great on the road. Yeah,
but yet you guys have still remained friends, correct? Yeah. So because I pulled a picture from 2019, and it's you and Rick. I don't know where this is at, but it's you and Rick today, here and now. It's like time flies. That
was an amazing night. We were with our friend Brett Tuggle, who has since passed away, and it was an amazing night. It's that wonderful venue out in Calabasas. I love that place.
Oh my God! Yeah, here we go. It's right down the street from me.
Canyon Club. Canyon Club.
Yeah, Canyon Club. Yeah. Very intimate, Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Here and now, but again, your career is like crazy. But things since I departed, I kind of stepped out of sight because once I started going through divorce and everything, I had to make some life changes. Aging parents, all the stuff was hitting me at once, and I had to step away. And I kind of lost, I had to make choices. And to me, it just family first. And I lost track of you. And so since like 2008, 9, it was just, not bumping into people, just kind of focusing on keeping the personal life in, from going down in flames and rebuilding. You've kind of changed. I mean, number one, the business has changed. Is it fair to say that the music business has since the 2000s, early 2000s, has really taken a dump.
Well, it's a whole nother hour that we probably shouldn't get into. Number of hours.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it's taken a dump, but it doesn't resemble what our music business. I mean,
right.
So I hesitate to talk about it because there's so many ways to talk about it. But now it's pretty much, I mean, music is made on a laptop. There's a celebrity in a laptop, basically, and music is secondary to a lot of other things. And songs are somewhat monotonous. And so the actual music business itself, bears no resemblance to what it used to be. But that's always been the case in history. I mean, anybody who talks about the music business at any time, if they're talking about the music business, probably what they're saying is already obsolete because every 6 months it changes. I think it was kind of always that way, but the pace of change has accelerated. And it's just that we came from an era where people played together. It was analog recording, real instruments, guitars, and now that's all been, it's all digital, it's all on a laptop, and it's based on celebrity first and fame first. Usually, there's some really great music out, and a lot of great music happens that is basically niche and tribe based, which means you develop your audience outside of the industry. And that's actually a good thing because record deals are not the greatest contract for anybody to sign. So if you can make it without a record company, you're better off these days. So for every advance, there's been, a decline in some areas. Like I say, it's a very complicated thing to talk about, but I saw as a the job of session person doesn't exist anymore, except in small, doses. There are a few musicians in LA who work steadily, a few more in Nashville who work steadily, and that's just about it. For everybody else, session work is sporadic. Now, I saw a change start to happen about 12 or 13 years ago, and I thought to myself, how do I want this to go? I discovered some people online who were doing educational businesses online, and I thought, well, I'm going to give that a try. And I just started to do it, and I fell in love with it. And it's actually grown to be a bigger business than my session career ever was. I mean, it's much bigger than my session career. And the best thing about it, it's a product rather than a service. So I sell a subscription online. It's 1,800 videos, 150 hours of tutorials and information. And it's a product rather than a service. So the money gets earned while I sleep. And that's the biggest difference. I work hard on my business during the day, but the money is earned on a product rather than the service. So I don't have to be there to earn the money. I have to be there to keep the business healthy and to ensure the future of the business, to grow the business. But the actual money is earned from a product that I have finished and I am not working on. And that is the best thing about it. So I'm happy. I've pretty much left the music business. I still do sessions for family and friends. Did something for Bob Dylan a couple of years ago. We did about 30 songs with Don Was. And then I have a friend, Rob Cavallo, I still work with occasionally. And other than that, it's just friends, and often I don't even charge for sessions these days. So it's wonderful. I couldn't be happier with the new business.
Look, I was on the phone yesterday with CJ Vanson, and because he's going to be on the show coming up towards the end of the month, hopefully. And I had told him that I had no clue that you had gotten into this masterclass online thing. And he stopped me in my tracks. He goes, dude, he says, Tim owns it. I mean, it's like, I mean, and CJ, it's like he's not a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's big in his own right. He's always doing something. But I was kind of blown away. I said, okay, you got this side little thing. And then I went to your YouTube and it's like, holy crap. It's like amazing. I mean, lots of people try to do what you are doing, but not as many have like grown it to this beautiful, flourishing thing. It's amazing.
Well, I don't know that anybody in our era of, there aren't that many studio musicians who've done it, although Tom Bukovac has a wonderful channel in Nashville, and there's a couple of new guys. So, but I know a lot of the people who are in the game, Rick Beato, Rhett Shull, Robert Baker, Corey Congelia, a lot of these guys are my friends who are in the YouTube game, and a lot of really, really good musicians. But it's true that from our era, I'm always the oldest one, and I'm the one who came from the actual music industry, except for Rick. Rick and I both came from the trenches in the music industry. But that's really nice of CJ to say that. I just, I have this way of persisting on one thing. I persisted on one thing one job as a studio musician for a long time. And then when I started this, I just persisted. I mean, anybody can do it, but a lot of musicians don't want to do the massive amount of humble work that's involved in doing an educational business. I mean, I have 4 employees. I have a full-time film editor and 3 part-time employees. And there's a lot of the time I'm working on stuff that's without this in my hands. So that's just the reality of it. There's a lot of hours spent filming, editing, answering emails, strategizing, stuff like that. Any business.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but I couldn't be. I'm happier doing this, frankly, than I've ever been. So it's the right thing for me at this time of my life. But thank you. That's really nice of him to say that.
Things change. I get it. Believe me, you're looking at a change. I never thought. I get people when I'm back in Florida and things like that because I spend a lot of time there that have known me throughout my entire playing, and they go, Peter, I can't believe you actually stopped playing. And it's like, I haven't really stopped playing, but it's like I'm in sabbatical because this consumes me. You're right. I bet, the easiest part of you making your videos is doing the actual instructional video. My show, the easiest part of it is the hour actually doing the show. The rest of the week, I'm consumed with all the other bullshit that goes behind it, which I love.
There's just a lot of stuff. You have to really be an adult and get a lot of stuff done that's not about playing the guitar. But in some ways, I play more guitar than I used to because I actually play what I want to play now rather than what the client wants me to play or the producer or the artist. So sometimes I'll work really hard on, I'm always working hard on music, but it's for the YouTube channel or the masterclass. So it's just different. I play enough guitar, but there are days when I get to the end of the day and go, wait a second, I didn't pick up my guitar today. But I think that happens to anybody as they travel through life, any older person. Carlos Rios, this great guitar player, he was asked about practicing. He said, practice when you're young, because once you become an adult and you get married and you have all these obligations and stuff, it's harder to practice. And there's a little of that there too. Some of our heroes, they don't practice as much. They play because life gets very busy.
It does get busy, but again, it's still what's within you. I mean, look, I love music. I still eat and drink and sleep it, but I just had to take this break. And I mean, what I'm striving for is like the next time I want to be on a soundstage and I want to bring in guys like you. And then I go, let's play a little something. That's my goal. That's really where I'm working at it. But, the soundstage budget isn't here yet. COVID kind of hit. It put me into this niche, so to speak. And so I'm grateful for it. Believe me, I could think of worse things to do. But at the same time, I do miss that. I do, want to bring in, because again, I've got access to everybody. But now Rick Beato, he's one guy that I do not know, and I'm going to interview him because nobody interviews him. He interviews everybody. But the thing is, that's he goes around and he interviews people at the studios and doing this and that. I want to bring it one step further and go, you know what? Let's just give everybody a little bit of a treat and just play a little something. And that's where I'm at. But you've just taken this. I was floored because I did not know what's going on with you. I mean, again, we get a Christmas. Your wife's the creative one. Is that correct? When it comes to the cards and things like that?
Yeah, she's the one. We have to give her credit for those cards. But I have a team of 4 people they're just wonderful. Yeah. She was always into like graphics and things like that? Does she work? No, she's not part of the business, but she was an artist. She was a painter at one point in her life. She doesn't do it anymore.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but again, the exchange of cards is like the one thing that keeps me in the loop, like, is because even when you changed residences back several years ago, it managed to not come back to me return to sender, like the post office. It didn't run out of time. I didn't lose track of where you lived, because that's happened with a lot of people that my Christmas card list used to be about 400 to 500 people. Now it's down to about 120. I mean, some was just generic music people, but there were a lot of people, like even JR. He moved, and it like came back to me, and now we're playing. Yeah, we're playing phone tag right now because I want him on the show, because he's another one who's one of the most recorded, and how times have changed as a drummer. So I'm working on that. But you stayed in the loop, and you managed, and like my daughter sees these cards, and I make sure she opens them every time. She did it from a child. She's 17 now, and I still wait for her to open them up. I'm going, this is Tim and Patty. And you have a son too, right?
My stepson. Yeah.
But I mean, they were all little, and now they're like, yours must be. How old is he now? He's got to be.
He's 40, and then he's brought us a grandson who's 10. So it's pretty wonderful.
There you go. Time has passed. Time has changed. You know, it goes by like this, and we're all in our own worlds, and we just keep on going. And now I'm talking to you, and it's almost feels like 20 years of like, what the hell happened? You know,
it's true. 10 years goes by quick. We're at this stage of our lives. Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to ask you something else that it slipped me, but when you first, this is not an anomaly, something that when I moved to LA, it was like very, very common. When you moved, because Terry Woolman, and he reminded me of this too, because I found out a lot of things about him as how he moved from Miami to LA, and stories that you just don't hear. He reminded me of the ye old Hollywood or Los Angeles futon. Have you ever owned a futon?
I actually love futons. I have, and that's one of the most comfortable beds I've ever slept on. I did have one at a certain point, and then we had one in our guest room. They're just, I love really firm mattresses, but sure, we had one for a long time. And certainly when you start out, it's a great bed.
Okay, because I never saw futons until I moved to LA, and then it's like every bedding store or mattress store sells futons, and I think that everybody at one point, for economical reasons and for the spare bed, for this and that, and I don't know, it hit me, and this is going to be a question I'm going to ask everybody, because I'm just really just proving my point that futons became the staple of most musicians, actors, actresses, just of living in an apartment. I mean, or getting situated.
So true. Yeah, I forgot about it. Thanks for reminding me.
Or maybe you didn't want. No, they were. I mean, they played a part.
No, I always loved that. It was one of my favorite. Just the mattresses were always really firm. I love that.
They are, but again, at the time when we bought it, we just needed something extra for when if somebody came, because I moved from out of state just like you did. Everybody, I think, is a transplant almost, and I needed an extra bed or something in case I have company, and it was just one of those deals like, hey, this will do, and you buy a futon. Haven't used that word in a while, so I just happened to hear a replay of Terry's show, which was a couple of years ago, I think, and I saw the futon. So all right. So proving my point once again. So you started this whole thing with the guitar. How many years are you into this now with your it's called Tim Pierce Guitars?
Well, you can find it if you Google me. It all comes to the same destination. That's why it's all you have to do is Google me and it'll come right up. But it's called my masterclass, and I started the actual process about 12 years ago and worked at it. And at first it was in all my spare time around sessions, and then, just like you, the pandemic made the business I was at the right place at the right time, because people wanted to say I'm going to learn guitar, and that's when it really grew exponentially. It was at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was nice to have an online education business to offer at that moment, and the YouTube channel. The whole thing started about 12 years ago.
Wow. Because again, it took me 4 years to get this show off the road. I was talking about it, but my ideas were bigger than my budget. And
well, that's the case. I mean, people don't realize it takes a couple of years even to get started, even if you're moving fast. There's a lot of reasons why, but yeah, you're preaching to the choir there. I mean, it's slow, and the cool thing is that we, you just fall flat on your face every day and you get back up and you keep going. And then 4 or 5 years go by and you have something, it's really cool.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Peter. I've fallen so much that I'm surprised that this nose still, pokes out as big as, because I've hit the ground. Because when I look at it, do you have the same thing? Like as you started progressing and creating it, like you think you got the greatest next best thing until you grow and go on to the next step of the journey that like enhances that, like puts that one to shame, so to speak. I mean, did you have a lot of those moments?
Yeah, you have to, even now you have to constantly reinvent yourself, because YouTube, my audience starts on YouTube, and right now I'm getting a lot of views, a couple of million views a month. I think it's down right now, maybe closer to 2 million. I have to check anyway. And it's getting people to click on YouTube has gotten harder and harder because it's so saturated and people are so numb. So making a video that people want to watch is one thing, and then creating the artwork and the thumbnail that people are going to click on, that's a really big game too. I spend hours creating the artwork and the title, and then sometimes changing it in real time if the video is not doing well. That's another part of it. But what I'm trying to say to you is every day is the first day of school. Every day is Monday. And that's the thing about it. You can never rest on your laurels in this game. You constantly have to reinvent. And it's even when you have a video that does really well, it's even kind of a lot of pressure because you go, now I can't repeat that because it did so well. There's stuff like that. And then I make a lot of videos that, I'll make a video. I did a video on Jared James Nichols, this guitar player I love. And the first time I did it, it wasn't good enough to release. So I spent 2 days filming and we spent a day editing, and I had to go, okay, this didn't work. And then so about a month later, I tried it again with a different concept and got it done. So these are dead costs. You spend time on things that just don't work. Sometimes I'll film in front of this camera, think I got something great, and I'll realize, nope, got to redo it. So it happens all the time. Yeah, every day is the first day of school. I had another YouTuber, a friend of mine, Ward Carroll, who has a big military channel. He says that every day is Monday.
Well,
Another way of putting it.
With the show, it's kind of wash, rinse, repeat, but I'm still always critiquing. But the thing is, again, you just don't know what is going to, get you into that all of a sudden takeoff. Now, again, I guess for the pandemic, I mean, that was your timing for people being stuck at home and, seeking out these things. But who knew? I mean, you were already doing it anyway. You were,
and it was doing well. It was just the pandemic supercharged some businesses, the delivery business, a lot of online businesses, and certainly online education. It turbocharged it. And in fact, I had just redone I had just spent 4 months switching to a new platform and redoing the website and all the content. And we just by chance opened it the first week of the lockdown. It was pure coincidence.
Wow. Because I say it, look, there's a million people out there trying to do exactly what you're doing. And especially now, it's not like you were all over the magazine. You weren't Eddie Van Halen doing it, because not that, not talent wise or this and that, but picture wise is like Eddie Van Halen. He's the front of the t-shirt guy. You know what I mean? So you're the behind the scenes guy that has created and made all these records that deserve more than actually some of these people, but yet you're the quiet one in the background that's done all this stuff. And people, it's like Tim Who, unless you're a musician that knows.
Yeah, the great thing about the education side of it is none of the people who were super successful at it had been famous at all. The first guy that helped me was a gentleman named Marty Schwartz. He's still one of the biggest guitar teachers in the world online, and nobody knew who he was, but he became a dear friend and he helped me start my channel. So that was one of the other things that appealed to me about it. It wasn't, you didn't have, the people actually who made it were just people who had built their businesses by working hard and doing humble work, so yeah, that's another nice thing about it. Now it's wonderful because that's why I go to the NAMM show. It's like if I do a video, if I do a video and it gets 40,000 views, that's one of my least performing videos. Well, that's Dodger Stadium. I mean, it's like, and most of my views do 70, 80, 100,000. Some get up to 400,000. So you figure, you're doing a video and you're filling the Rose Bowl 5 nights in a row with views, or you're doing a video and it's not a successful video and you're filling Dodger Stadium one night. And it's just me and the audience. It's an amazing. I never thought I'd be able to do this. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
That is amazing. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because the Beatles, what I told somebody the other day that, had the Beatles not played Ed Sullivan and they had to, if they were trying to make it playing every pub in England, they would have never been able to do it. So you're sleeping and you're getting, hundreds of thousands and millions of views. That's incredible. I mean, not that it's not possible. People do it in other genres, but again, I think it's, just instructional to pinpoint, go, what, we want Tim Pierce. Pretty cool.
I'm really enjoying being an elder, and having this connection with an audience, which is, it's my audience, to be totally honest, is mostly 35 and up and some 25 to 35. But it's an adult audience, and that makes sense. I'm of a certain age, and the audience that I have is older people. So
Wow. That
I love
you
them
know,
all.
back in the day, kind of as things were exiting, I could see, like for me, I was fortunate enough, like all these songwriters, they had really crappy drum machines that were doing all the parts. So, you know, I was replacing drum machines. But as that sampling and, you know, and cutting and pasting got bigger, better sounding, I remember Kurt Mascara, I was in the Village Recorders one morning or something, and he was like, man, it's so great to be here to play. I think he was doing a commercial with the Wojons or something. He goes, I'm so tired of sweetening loops. You know, this is an amazing groove drummer that's not getting gigs because the drum machines are starting to take over again, you know, and they're good. So I don't know where half these people are at anymore because I'm so out of the loop, but I'm slowly going to start finding out, and we're going to
Good.
Yeah, I think so. And that was the thing, but I said it a few weeks ago. To me, talking about this was everyday stuff. It's like having chocolate. I think I said chocolate cake or whatever you like, your favorite food. Eating it every day seems normal. And so, but to people, it's not. And they're people close to me going, how come you haven't called all these people and put them on your show? I go, I don't know, because I don't want to talk about how Tim plays an A chord. You know, I want to talk about how Tim evolved, you know, and how's Tim doing? How's the family? You know what I mean? Because we're lucky to be here nowadays. I mean, you know, life is, you know, people. I'm losing people left and right, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you know
and you'll find some amazing stories. I mean, all the musicians you talk about, the guys we know, we've all traveled a lot. We've all been through a lot of different business situations. We've all played with some amazing, famous people. And then for some of us, this is like, I mean, this is the best chapter of my life right now. I'm happier than I've ever been. And part of it is because I don't have the pressure, and I kind of set my own hours. Now I work all the time, but I can walk out of here and go swim if I want, or I can walk out of here and do something else. I'm not with a client right now. So I like this chapter of my life. And I think you'll probably find that with a lot of people. They're really enjoying this chapter, maybe the most of all.
Well, yeah, you know what? And look, how many times the millions of times putting in the 18-hour days. You know, people think that playing music ain't all flash. I mean, there's endless hours in the studio, again, up all night. You know, those days, even if you weren't with the normal 10 to 5 recording session guys, you were doing the, you know, starting at 8 o'clock at night guys. I mean, you know, after, I mean, let's face it, we're not 30 anymore. I was going to say 20, but 30, you know, or 40. It's life changes, you know, and family, you kind of want to slow down a little bit. You know, so CJ was saying, you know, I like making my own hours. Like,
yes, he does. And he's done so many amazing films that now he has that freedom too. So,
well, you know, that was the thing. I couldn't get a hold of him because he was doing on a film thing, and he goes, yeah, he says, I'm doing it. He says, but I'm trying not to. You know, I want to be on my time. You know, not
he has a body of work that takes care of him right now. It's wonderful.
It's all good. All right, here's what we're gonna do, because oh man, time is just flying. But I want to be able to tell people, if they want to see everything that you do, you got a really good website. You know, it's got everything all over. But if people want to see more about what you do with the master classes and all that, I mean, besides finding you on Tim Pierce Guitar or Tim Pierce YouTubes, but you have your own website, correct?
Well, it's simpler than that, really. It used to be a little more spread out, but there's 2 places. Go to YouTube and just put in Tim Pierce or Tim Pierce Guitar. You'll see the YouTube channel, and make sure you click on the videos and also the live videos, because the live videos are actually my biggest videos. So those 2 categories, there's some shorts there too. So first, just go to Tim Pierce Guitar YouTube or Tim Pierce YouTube, and then you go to timpierce.com, go to the website. It's really basically, the website at this point is just an invitation to the masterclass. That's all it is. So it's because I don't want, I just want people to either entertain on YouTube or I teach on the masterclass. So those are the 2 places to go. So they're both easy to find.
All right, well, they can find you. I mean, again, because I've done it, and I typed in Tim Pierce, and you have those couple of different places. I just always like to take people to where your home is, and then you can redirect them to where you want. But all I can say is, again, I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't. I didn't know. I mean, look, I'm sure there's people that we all know, and I don't know who they are, but I guarantee there are that are probably not even in the business anymore.
Well,
Because-
and you're the same animal because I knew that you did this, but I didn't know you did 300 podcasts. You're established and you're real, and I see why. So it's the same thing. I'm overjoyed to know that you've got 300 of these in the can, and you're killing it. That's great.
I ask myself why every day. But look, I had to make choices again because I could not go on the road. I was going through hell with divorce battles of custody and this and that. And all that mattered was that little girl. She was really small at the time. She was only 3. And that was my first child and my only child. And I waited till I was 44 years old to have this child. And my life like just changed. I mean, she brought out a part of, you know what I mean? As being a parent or whatever, it opened up a door that I thought I knew I had, but you don't realize how intense it is. And all that mattered to me was being available to her because things were going to change. And I was only going to have her half the time. And that wouldn't have flown well. I mean, there's plenty of people that are on the road now. You know, Luke's on the road all the time, but he can facilitate that because he's been that guy. And he has people that handle things, and it's just a way of life. With me, I mean, I don't know where I would have been if I kept sticking in with music because, again, I remember JR working out of his house, recording tracks and sending them off digitally. I mean, this is the biggest drummer in the world, because there's no studio sessions anymore. So I when this kind of came around, I just kind of take it as a gift because I didn't know what I was going to do. All that mattered to me was that I had to handle family business. And again, with, aging parents who have since passed now and all that, that's all that mattered. But here I am, and here you are, did not know. And so I'm glad that you're happy. I'm glad that everybody's good in your family. And that's, I guess, what more could you ask for, really?
Nothing. Yeah, you're right. Those are the priorities.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. That's great.
Well, all right. Look, I thank you so much for taking the time to do this. So much time has just gone. You lose that, but here we are, and we did it. And so I'm very thankful for that because this will go down in infamy, so good or bad. It's gonna be there, and through the week I cut up little shorts, and shorts go out onto all the other platforms and things like that. And I hope people will be enticed enough to, especially musically inclined people that want to learn really more about what you do and learn how to do what you do, to go to your website www.timpierce.com or to the YouTube Tim Pierce, and
that's it.
Tim
Those
Pierce,
places. Yeah,
you're there. So thank you for taking the time, and I, more than anything, I just appreciate a few of the little stories because we did not talk about anything tones and pedals that you use and amps and combos, nothing like that. We talked about life and just sharing a few stories. So I appreciate it. And I do too.
So do I, actually. I talk about this stuff enough, so it's nice to talk about life with you.
I get a lot of that. And, back when I first started doing this, Lukather was one of the first guys big musicians. And I got into deep detail about surviving divorce and single parenting because I knew his history. And he was kind enough to do that.
That's great.
And let me tell you, 99% of the comments are, wow, it's so cool to hear the normal side of this person, because he's way up there, but 1% every once in a while you get somebody that go, wow, I can't believe out of all the questions you could have asked, you get into his personal life as if I was like setting him up to attack him. But Luke also told me, he says, I never read comments. I never listen. I don't read my reviews. He got over it because you can't please everybody.
Oh no, there's always one or two people who are negative. And so we live with that.
I was sharing stories you have to just like this, tell you how the rest of how real life really works. It's up on a stage. That's a blink of an eye. It's the behind the scenes that all the work goes behind. So thank you for sharing yourself. And again, I'm hoping maybe that this will, we're in touch again. The December will be here before you know it, but
look forward to your next Christmas card, and you can certainly look forward to ours.
It's getting harder because she's getting older and it's harder to take pictures of her, but we're very horse involved. She's an equestrian. She's true blue, dirty, dusty. She turned into that girl. But either way, I hope maybe I'll get to actually give you a hug in person one of these days because we're really not that far from each other. We're just busy doing things, just life. All right, brother.
Looks so.
Listen,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, last look at Mr. Tim Pierce right there. Top Gun Tim Pierce, guitar virtuoso of everybody. He cannot say that, but I am. So thank you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Right, there you go. Huh? Tim Pierce right there. Last chance. If you want to see what he does, go to www.timpierce.com and you can check him out some more. Gracious enough to give me the time. Look, life is busy, folks. Everybody's got, things to do. But this was good for me. I'm hoping it's good for you because I learned something every time I do something. But to have him on the show, we actually talked. I promise you that this conversation would have probably been just about like the conversation almost, except for as much music background. But we would have had this same conversation just to catch up because I haven't spoken to him in so long. But www.timpierce.com, go find him over there. I want to remind you again, next week's important. I think they're all important, even when they're all important. I think there's something in every show. Entertainment with a purpose. That purpose could be a bunch of screwing around, but if it made you smile, it's like, well, there's my purpose. We do a lot of serious stuff too, but this was kind of middle of the road, educational and great conversation with people you might not be able to get this conversation with. And speaking of getting conversation with somebody, next week, Wednesday, May 17th, take off from work, as I said, whatever, mark it on your calendar. Keyboardist, songwriter, and composer, top of the heap, Mr. Steve Porcaro is going to be on the show. He's another one. Everybody I'm having on for this next month of musicians is somebody who I'm close to, but have not seen them in ages. We just know we're around, and we're going to catch up. So it's just going to be conversation. I don't consider these interviews. They're conversations that you just happen to be eavesdropping in. You're like, you hear me? Anyway, so that's it. Steve Porcaro, Wednesday, May 17th, right here on this show, Life with Peter G, The Peter G Show. We're just talking about life. Things change. I'm a testament to that. But anyway, don't forget. And please, 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 Tim's got 90 gazillion million viewers on his show, on his YouTube channel. I don't. They killed me, and I'm rebuilding from the piles. It's almost like I've been bombed, and now we have to, the smoke is cleared, and now we're rebuilding. So please just go and subscribe because it's pitiful. But, you got to start somewhere, even when you have to start over again, just like life. Many people have started over again in life and still become successful and are happy. And that's all that matters. So go to YouTube and just hit the subscribe button, please. And again, if you don't have time to watch the Peter G Show, just Google Peter G Show podcast. We have it on audio. It's on like 25 different platforms, your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. You can just put an earbud in your ear while you're driving. A lot of people commute to work and things like that while you're exercising, whatever you want to do. Just you can listen to it. As we talked about, just about 300 shows, with a lot of different subject matter. And, even when I love doing the shows by myself sometimes because I get to talk about what I want to talk about. Can't please everybody. In fact, I piss people off sometimes because sometimes I get into the political arena, but I get people that call in and want to add to it. And sometimes people don't like what they have to say. We can't all agree on the same things, but we can be cordial and we can just listen and then take it, with a grain of salt. All right. Can't we all just get along? I love you guys. I do. So I want you to tune in next week. And lastly, as always, I want to thank my good friends over at Clean Star Products for knowing what I do and still sponsoring me. So I'm extremely grateful for that. But as always, my name is Peter G. You are watching Life with Peter G, The Peter G Show, right here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, like clockwork, God willing. And don't forget, everything's on demand. You can go check out the shows on all the various platforms like YouTube. And that's it. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I love you guys. I truly do. I know that life is full of choices and you don't have to watch this show. There's so many things that pull people away. But those of you who choose to watch and, or try to watch and share, and let's grow together. I'm going to bring you bigger, better things as always. But for right now, I love you guys. and peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.